Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Muhammadu Buhari returns to Nigeria after a 6-day visit to China as Nigeria turns down financial assistance from the IMF. The National Assembly says it is united in its stance on the 2016 budget. Channels Television and Deutsche Welle launch a joint production of an environmental program called Echo at Africa. And Pope Francis takes 12 Syrian migrants back with him to the Vatican after visiting a camp on the Greek island of Lesbos. Well, all our top stories can be found on our website channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. And we encourage you to use the Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, tap the app on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. Well, here are some pictures you sent to our Eyewitness portal. First is this one from Gusau-Sokoto Highway showing an open truck transporting passengers in its trunk. Our Eyewitness reporter wants road safety officials to check this improper way of moving passengers. Next is this one from Mission Road, Benin City in Edo State showing a fallen billboard. Our Eyewitness reporter is asking advertising agencies to be safety cautious. We also have this one from Ologun Eru area of Ibadan in Oyo State showing vehicles parked in front of a fueling station trying to get fuel. Our Eyewitness reporter says residents of the state are still experiencing fuel scarcity. Next is this picture from Ogijo in Shagamu, Ogun State showing a bad road. Our Eyewitness reporter is asking the government to rehabilitate this road. Finally is this one from Raji Oladimeji Street, Magodo GRA, Lagos State, showing a road in need of urgent attention. Our Eyewitness reporter says this is an abandoned project and is calling on the government to complete it. We'd like to thank you for sending in those pictures and urge you to keep sending them in. Channels Television has added another feather to its cap of achievement with the launch of a joint production of a program on the environment, Echo at Africa, a collaboration between Channels Television and Deutsche Welle. The program is the first of its kind in Nigeria and would focus on the environment and renewable energy. At the launch in Abuja, the nation's capital, the chairman and chief executive of Channels Television, Mr. John Momo, says Channels Television, through Echo at Africa, is seeking to redirect the mindset of the government to guard the environment jealously and reduce air and water pollution. The Director General of DWTV, Peter Limburg, says Nigeria shares something common with Germany in terms of its wealth of knowledge. He says the choice to work with Channels Echo Africa is because of its high journalistic standards.
Africa is facing a dramatic increase in air and water pollution, drought and wildlife extinction, and unless immediate action is taken to clean up the continent's environment, its future may be bleak. Now consider these findings by UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme. Over the next 30 years, growing populations, wars, climate change, and the introduction of alien plant and animal species will increase poverty, destroy the environment, and spread disease. Uncontrolled expansion of cities and pollution from cars and industry, which will all increase as the population grows, will need to be carefully managed. Otherwise, pollution will get worse. And currently, South Africa accounts for 42% of these emissions. Egypt, Nigeria, and Algeria combined account for another 35%. And then diseases like malaria are likely to spread into new areas as the climate changes. A loss of wildlife would not only be devastating for the environment, but would also seriously dent the tourism industry affecting local economies. But the good news is that African countries have already begun to address these issues through an Africa-wide development scheme, even though UNEP insists more drastic changes are needed.
This is a special moment in the history of Deutsche Welle. It is special because we do something which we've never done before. Because in the past we always produced our programs in 30 languages. We sent out programs to other stations, to good partners and friends around the world. But today we are celebrating something which goes even beyond this, what we've done in the past 60 years. What brings us together is that we both have high journalistic standards. We both are professionals, and we are dedicated to the subjects, not only selling things. We are interested in the world. And this topic environment, I think, is the real important one, and it brings together a lot of people, because when we have polluted the air in the past, and Africa has polluted the air, then we did it together, and we now have to clean it up together, the mess. So I think this is something very special. And you said, well, what's going on? Is it? It's a very dangerous situation, the environmental question in Africa.
Well, congratulations to Channels Television and Deutsche Welle Television. Well, still on Echo at Africa launch, the federal government has lent its support to the program, describing the partnership between Channels Television and DWTV as a good initiative on sustaining the environment. Meanwhile, the head of the European delegation to West Africa adds that the continuous use of kerosene and firewood in Nigeria is hurting the environment.
The program would not have come at a better time, because our traditional ecological problem in this country has now been aggravated by climate change. What we thought were our ecological problems in this country, which we have been fighting through partnership, local level, international level, today is now growing to a monster because of climate change. In no distant future, if we do not do the right thing, with partnerships such as this, with partnership from the private sector, from individuals, from non-governmental organizations, the map of Nigeria may change in a number of years. What will happen? Some of our coastal states may disappear. Lagos, Bayelsa, River States. These are areas which are at the heart of the problem of sea level rise. And I think we must do something collectively in order to save our people. The issue of soil erosion, which has been there for a long time in the southeastern part of this country, deforestation in the middle part of this country, and desertification in the north, are now wearing different identities. They have now been able to produce other monsters. We have insecurity challenges, especially in the northeast. And I can tell you that climate change and other environmental issues may not be unconnected with those issues. And therefore, we as a country must do all we can in order to achieve a more sustainable environment for us, our children, and our children's children.
But surely for this success to happen, people need to be aware of the environmental challenges around them. So within the EU, we do fund, we do support a lot of schemes related to environmental education for school children, for young people, for teachers, for families. You know, we have to know what action we can take at our own level. I think fighting climate change, fighting pollution starts at home, at household levels. And we have to know, we have to be taught how to save water, how to save energy, how to prevent and reduce waste, and how to contribute to help tackle climate change. So that's why a program like Echo Africa is so important, as it reaches out to all the people of Nigeria.
About 2 weeks ago, global rights group Amnesty International restated its call for Nigeria to abolish the death penalty. The country director of Amnesty International, Mohammed Ibrahim, made the call following concerns that 10 states have so far signed the death penalty for kidnapping. The issue of abolishing the death penalty is, however, one that continues to generate debate across the country. In this next report, our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoyele, looks at some of the issues raised for and against the abolition of the death penalty.
The right to life is a universal right. Some countries have, however, placed some limitations to the enjoyment of these rights by their citizens. Nigeria is one of the countries which has limited this right with the imposition of the death penalty. Offences punishable by death in Nigeria include murder, armed robbery, aiding the suicide of a child, treason and conspiracy to treason, and kidnapping in about 10 states in the southeast. In the north, about 12 states, which practice Sharia and Islamic law, also use the death penalty for incest, homosexual sodomy, rape, and adultery. The Nigerian army also punishes mutiny with the death penalty. Terrorism and support for terrorist acts that result in death also carry the death penalty. However, there appears to be a shift towards the abolition of the penalty globally. Amnesty International says that as of July 2015, 102 countries have abolished the death penalty for all crimes in law, while 140 countries have abolished the penalty in law and in practice, a figure which is nearly 2/3 of countries around the world. In Nigeria, available statistics as of 2010 suggest that almost half of Nigerians support the use of the death penalty.
I would even prefer that we introduce death penalty into corruption, like they have in China, so that that will serve as a very serious check to this corruption that is becoming a clog in the wheel of a success in this country.
You don't have the right to take someone's life away, so we have to recognize that fact, and we still believe the judiciary and our lawmakers can consider at every time life imprisonment.
The Chief Registrar of the Lagos State Judiciary says groups opposed to the death penalty need to lobby the legislature.
Judiciary is not saddled with the responsibility of making the laws. That is the function of the House of Assemblies in the states and the National Assemblies at the federal level. So I think the NGOs who are championing the elimination of capital offences should attempt to pressurize the different houses of assembly, particularly at the national level, so that the matter can be given adequate consideration.
Nigeria leads the list of countries sentencing the most people to death. A prison commander says the reluctance of governments to sign death warrants also leads to congestion of the prisons.
What I am advocating is a situation where if somebody is condemned, maybe per within a matter of months, they are given life imprisonment, in which case, instead of them congesting one particular area, because like in Lagos State, the only place you can keep convict is the maximum prison. And the number is actually high, 170-something inmates, for a place that is maybe actually was supposed to contain about 70 people.
The Attorney General of Ogun State perhaps speaks the minds of most governments when he says that governments take the sanctity of life seriously, and the process of signing death warrants goes through a rigorous process that will stand the test of time.
I think where we should be heading, really, is twofold. One, that the society evolves to such a position that we all have some sort of rebirth, that Amnesty International and others who hold that kind of view begin to hold an holistic, look at it from an holistic trend to see how we can improve society as a whole from such base elements and moving us up so that we wouldn't have the debate in the first place. The other aspect is to continue to strengthen our judicial institutions, to strengthen the administration of criminal justice processes and procedures.
Indeed, the possibility of sentencing and executing innocent people is real. And until the country gets the administration of justice right, perhaps there is a compelling need to revisit the issue of the death penalty. Shola Shoyele, Channels Television News.
Well, we'll have more on the abolition of the death penalty. I'll be joined by Chino Obiagu, who is a coordinator Nigeria Death Penalty Group on abolition, when we come back after the break. Also, the National Directorate of Employment empowers 220 graduates of the program in Anambra State. To join us again.